How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Garage Built Baits. I'm your host, Wyatt Byer. You can check me out down below at the Buy Me a Coffee link or any of the other stuff I got going on down below. I'm working on my website to sell more of the baits that I paint and that I make myself. And also, there's a Buy Me a Coffee link down below that helps support the channel. But we're talking to Jeff today from Fishing Punk, and he's a super cool dude from kind of my neck of the woods up in Minnesota there, another Midwest guy. So I hope you enjoy it. We'll just get right into it.
Oh yeah, I'm sitting on keep my volume up. I got a little basement bar sitting at. It's the wall behind me or behind it.
Oh, sweet. What are you serving at your basement bar?
At the moment, I actually just cracked open a brew-free blood orange IPA.
There you go. I've never had that. I'm not a big
Yeah,
IPA guy.
I am.
Yeah,
Stick
my
to
my brothers are, but I don't know. I like stouts. I don't know. Just never got into IPAs, dude.
it. Each their own.
Dude,
Nothing wrong
okay,
with stuff.
yeah. Well, let's just hop right into it.
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, Jeff. Tell the people what you do. Tell the people about your bait.
Oh boy. Jeff Burbank, Fishin Punk Lure Design is the name of the company. I make baits. Uh, Primarily swim baits. I dabble with some other things. I've been making baits for, I don't even know, 15 plus years of one kind or another, whether they be little balsa cranks or butt tails or this and that. Got into tying flies for a while. Um, I suck at fly fishing, but tying them's fun. Yeah, so, but as of lately, yeah, it's primarily swim baits and kind of got on that. I don't even know when. Tell
Mm-hmm.
you the truth.
Yeah,
Um,
and you're from Minnesota.
yes.
Have you always lived up there?
Yep. The house I'm living in right now is literally a mile away from the house I grew up from. So mom still lives right down the road from me. And yeah, not much has changed there. But
Nothing wrong with that.
well, honestly, I wish I wasn't in Minnesota. I don't like the winters here anymore. I used to not mind it, but now the older I get, the more crabby I get about it. But
so
you're in
so
South Dakota, so you can relate,
yeah,
right?
it's been cold. We haven't had like a ton of snow, but it's not. And I don't ice fish really, so
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
I've got everything to do it. I grew up doing it, but each and every year I do it less and less. I haven't got out yet, so
Mm-hmm.
that says anything. And I just bought a new Aquaview camera just to kind of get me pumped up for it. And it didn't help.
Dude, yeah, I kind of get like excited because I'm like I see like pictures of like the local tackle shop. They post pictures of people catching like 30 and 40-inch pike on tip ups, and then a couple dudes have got some lake trout figured out around here and have been catching them down deep. So I don't know.
Well,
I'm
that'd be
all,
fun.
yeah, I'm always like, oh, that'd be so cool, but I don't have this stuff, and so I usually just go out with my buddies, and
But
I don't know, we just haven't gotten to it yet.
yeah, well,
And
you got
like our ice has been real late too. Like there's a couple lakes that haven't frozen over up until like after Christmas they froze over.
yeah, it's kind of same here. It a little late, but not. Now. There's probably I don't know just from what I see online, at least a foot in the local lakes here. Guys are driving trucks, so guys are also losing trucks. But
dude,
whatever.
dude,
That's
there's
a
like a couple sketchy lakes around here. Like one of the reservoirs has like some flow, some current to it. So it's
yep.
like the ice isn't consistent like everywhere you go. So it's kind of sketch.
Right. Yeah. Not for me.
Dude, that's a sick shirt though.
Oh, thanks, man. Uh, This is I don't know if you know Joe Peterson from True Glide. He did I don't know if he still does it, but he had a little clothing line. Maybe he still does. I don't know. But yeah, this was one of his shirts that I had to get because yeah, it says Muskies and obviously Misfits
Mm-hmm.
going all the same. So
Yeah. Like one like swim bait clothing line that I really like and that I've wanted to get stuff is uh Paul Piz, his
yeah,
Slaunch Mob line.
oh yeah,
I want to
yeah.
get some of that.
I've got a shirt or two. He's got some cool stuff for sure, for sure. Right up my alley. You know,
Oh.
it's all metal and punk and influenced, and yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm into. I'm into like heavy metal and rock. So it's I don't know, has that like influence to it. It's just pretty sweet stuff.
Absolutely. Yep.
Um so getting into your bait, do you have one like around you to show off real quick?
I got a bunch actually because I figured we might go through the history or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
what do you want to see first, oldest or newest?
Oh, let's just start with oldest. Let's go
I mean,
chronological.
I don't have like, I mean, if you're really, so we're talking swim baits, we can do that. Like before the swim baits, I started just, so I used to go down to Mexico, uh,
Mm-hmm.
fish, strictly fish, well, vacation, but you know, fishing was priority. Anyway, we'd go after yellowfin tuna and rooster fish and big barrett snappers and this and that. Anyway, we would always use these they're X wraps, Rapala X wraps, and I don't even remember what size. I'm gonna say 14. They're like 6 inches. Anyway, they're like this size right here.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so after the first year doing that, those things would just get smashed. Oh, they're hollow, you know, and they crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Get holes in them, get waterlogged. They're good for a fish or two. So I heard about, you know, after watching Larry Dahlberg doing all his messing with the goop. I don't know if you're into Dahlberg or know who he is, but
Mm-hmm.
uh, anyway, I think a lot of guys got a lot of tips from that dude. Anyway, he's kind of an idol of mine, but also a local Minnesotan. But anyway, so that's kind of how I found out about Alumilite and the resin and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started making knockoffs of them Rapalas out of resin, and that's where that started from. You know, previous to that, I just dabbled with little wooden baits and you know little crank baits and this and that. Um, anyway, so then fast forward from that, somehow I got into swim baits. I don't. It's, I've been making them. I get for at least 8 years or so. All mainly personal until recently. I started selling them maybe a year ago or so. But anyway, this I don't know if you can see that, but
Mm-hmm.
this is my first glide, first one that I ever made, and it actually works pretty dang good. But I could never replicate it. I didn't keep track of recipes or nothing like that. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. I only tried like 2 or 3 more times, so you know, if I had to do it now, I think I could do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. To me, right, the glide bait market's so saturated right now that I don't even kind of want to go there. But anyway, so after that, there's a few wake baits I've purchased, I guess, from you know killer builders. Toxic for one. Caesar, he's kind of an idol to me too. But I always thought they would crank down a little too sooner than I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of my mission to make a wake bait that didn't crank down so soon, but still cranked down. So I think that's where the pork chop came from.
Oh, that's sweet.
This is actually a pretty cool bait, and I might bring it back. I probably will bring it back. I don't know. It ended up so oh shit. So before that even was another glide bait, big. I think I might be getting this chronologically wrong, but this thing's like 10 incher, like
Mm-hmm.
size of a depth. Yeah. what is it, 270? Is that what they are? Forget, but that shows you my swim bait knowledge. Anyway, this thing actually swims killer too, but it's for the lakes I'm in, it's muskie size, and I just don't fish muskie that much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, while I was making that, this was the original wood carving of that bait.
Mm-hmm.
Making that bait, I didn't have the walls of my mold reinforced, so it bulged out and made this on accident. So I cut, basically I had this 9-10 inch bait, whatever it is, and I cut the midsection out of it to make this. It was just kind of a wing it deal, and it actually turned out pretty cool. Yeah, and so, yeah, back to the wake bait and how I didn't want to crank down this and that. I'm really kind of picky on the swims of them and this and that. And a 2-piece wake bait swims goofy to me. It just does. It either has too much head shake or too much tail shake or too much body or what, it's weird to me. It just doesn't look natural enough. So eventually I made a 3-piece. Sorry if I'm looking over here so much. I got all these baits all strung together. Anyway, so eventually it became a 3-piece. And another thing, when I was making that, the wake bait originally, I was always testing them in the very beginning of ice off in the spring when the water's at its coldest. Well, baits float more then, float better. So by the time I'm actually fishing with these things, now they're cranking down easier than I had anticipated, not thinking of that. And so now I'm pissed off, because it was so good 2 months ago. Now look what it's doing. So man, I'm messing with weights and micro balloon ratios and all that, trying to figure it out again. And anyway, that's kind of how that all went about. And yeah, I made divers out of it, 3-piece divers. This is one of them. I think this is probably an original. Most of my prototypes I painted just because it's hard to make a bait that doesn't swim.
Mm-hmm.
If you just put all the, assume you got ballast and it's somewhat, and you know how to tune your lip ties, your not lip ties, but your line ties. You can get them to swim, I think. I mean, I really haven't had a dud in as far as that goes. There's other kinds of, obviously, glides are way different. That you'll get duds left and right with those. But as far crankbaits, they're, I think, relatively simple. Crankbaits, wake baits, whatever. So then I guess, I don't know, like I said, I'm not sure if we're completely chronological, but I started whittling a piece of wood, and this is what is now the aggro wake.
Mm-hmm.
Originally it was this. And I don't have it with me. I wish I did. I actually made a glide out of this fat little dude, which worked pretty good, but never really tried to replicate that one. That was another one I went straight into wake mode kind of with and got it pretty good again. Once again, I didn't like the 2-piece, so I went to a 3-piece. And when you do that, everything totally changes. Your hook starts getting caught in the joints and this and that, and you got to figure out precisely where you want them or change things. And anyway, yeah, eventually I got that thing working, and along that way, I think I cut where that tail slot is there. I cut that off. I did something, or maybe I filled it in with putty or something. But anyway, I think I cut it off. Yeah, I cut it off. So I got the pest out of that. I cut this thing off, and I took some putty, slapped some ears on it, and made a rat out of it. And this friggin' thing, if I must say so myself, has a really badass swim. Really badass. Not loud, not a big clack, nothing like that. But that doesn't bother me. I'm more after the swim, and I fish really clear lakes. And to me, the sound isn't needed.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of my my personal preference, or it's not even preference. Just I don't care about it too much like some guys do, and each their own on that. And I don't know how good fish here. I know they got lateral lines and feel, but I don't know. I don't. That's something I've always wondered if the actual loudness of the sound, does that mean more vibration or not? Probably, but I don't know. I'm not a scientist as far as that goes, but it's kind of something to think about, you know. I don't know if a
Mm-hmm.
lot of guys do, but anyway, that's kind of the history of. Like I said, I've been doing it for a long time. I just tinker around and get stuff to swim and hopefully catch fish with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like, if you have a bait and you kind of know where things are supposed to be, or even have a rough idea, you can get a bait to work. It might not
Yeah,
do what exactly you want the first time around, but you can get it to work and swim.
right, right,
Um,
and that's
yeah, exactly, dude. So what would you say has been like? You have some of these baits in your lineup now. What would you say is like one of your favorite lures that you've made?
uh definitely the wake, the aggro wake. That
Mm-hmm.
thing is that thing. It does. I mean, I'm not just saying it because it's to promote it, but it catches fish and it's a fun bait to fish. It's loud for a resin bait. I don't know if you somewhere on my Instagram I have a little video of it. Um, but yeah, and it's a good shallow crank down in the spring. And I mod mine too. Like I'll like before I put the wake out, I put an aggro crank out, and that just came on accident. I was weighting the wake with more weight, and I got it to do some cool stuff while swimming it underwater. It would almost dead twitch kind of, and you kind of have to, I think I never played with different line with that, but I think you really need a heavier line because I fish like 20 to 30 pound fluoro for most of my swim baits just because we got pike everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't use leaders unless I'm fishing musky waters or strictly fish. Then yeah, I'm using 100+ pound fluoro, but for leaders on braid. But anyway, so anyway, with that crank down with the heavier line, if you reel it in slowly, by the time it's getting about halfway through retrieve, that heavy line is keeping it down and keeping it suspended because that line starts to sink. If you just start reeling quick, that's not going to happen. But if you're going slow, like in the early spring and in the late fall, when you want your stuff to be slowed down more, it's a killer freaking way to catch fish too. But not a lot of guys think that or realize that
Mm-hmm.
with any bait really, I think. But that one is a little heavier and gets down better. I mean, if you look at the lip, it's no different than the weight, but because of the way it's weighted, it'll get down 5 feet, and you wouldn't think that. But so anyway, yeah, that whole line, the aggro line, right now is especially the wake though. The wake is fun. I dig a lot, and obviously top water. Who doesn't love top water bite? So
Oh, for sure, dude. And I like how on the wake, I like the stylization of the face and the details with all of that. I think it's really unique. I feel like it's more unique than like what is out there right now. Some of the stuff just kind of gets copy and pasted with different,
every,
gill plates look the same, stuff like that.
yeah, everything looks like a shad. Just saying.
Yeah.
But
Oh, for
no,
sure,
I
dude.
appreciate that, dude. I really do. So when I did that, and most of my baits, I think it's not like I made a lot, but that one and the pork chop, I just winged it with a knife. I didn't know drawings, and that's why it came out lopsided and goofy looking. If you go from side to side, and eventually I did I took it to and got it digitally scanned or whatever. to make it the new, but the one that's out now is completely 100% symmetrical. And it, yeah, way better as far as looks and just making it. Like I haven't had one yet that I've made that needed to be tuned. They come right out of the get go. They don't need any tweaking. So far, I have not tested one because I'm afraid the time I do, it's it's somebody's going to get a dud. But so yeah. Anyway, thanks. So yeah, I just winged it, and I guess to go even further back, at one point I really liked the cartoon a lot. Just dabbling. Up from middle school all the way, probably actually grade school all the way up till my 20s. I guess I actually went to a school for commercial art for like a year. I was too young. School wasn't for me. After high school wasn't for me. Neither was high school. But so yeah, so cartooning and whatnot, and that's kind of why I think how I and where I get these looks I get is that has a lot to do with it, and not going for ultra realism at all. I'm sure you can tell that, but with the paint jobs, there's a spark of it, and the colors and whatnot. I try to get decent, but yeah, thanks. That's a huge compliment. I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem, dude.
Being original is not easy, and sometimes I wonder if I am too. But I got affirmation from you; it's good enough.
So what's the specs on that wake?
So I guess tip to tail, it's about 6.5 inches, maybe just shy. About 2.25 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's. I don't know if there's any more specs you need to know, but
yeah,
so it probably dies. I say it wakes at a slow to moderate, and once you get up after that moderate, or if you just start cranking fast right away, obviously it'll go down 2 feet tops. I'd say more like 1.5 feet though. Probably is probably more accurate. Obviously that all depends on line and all that kind of stuff, but I would say about 1.5 feet.
Mm-hmm. What's your setup for fishing that? I know you said you like to run braid.
No, I do. Floral. My swim baiting is floral. For that
gotcha.
stuff, it's probably 20 pound, and actually definitely 20 pound. I've never tried under yet. I tell you the truth, I just started like using straight floral like 2 seasons ago maybe. I've always been a braid guy forever because I come from the musky world, and that's kind of where that is. And even like I can't stand. I tried it on conventional stuff years ago for crankbaits and this and that because all the pros use it, and I couldn't stand it. I still don't really like it there's compared to braid, there's no sensitivity. Way too much stretch, I feel. But the reason I switched to it is because I keep more fish pinned using it. Mm-hmm. And you can't rip through weeds with it, not good, not like you can with braid. I don't know, I'm assuming you use braid on something or another, so you can maybe agree with me, but maybe you don't. But yeah, so yeah, but with that setup is so 20 pound. I probably have it on a Corrado 200 Leviathan, medium mm-hmm. heavy. They're I think it's their medium heavy 1 to 4 ounce 8-footer, the Omega. I've got a couple of those, and those are my 2 primary. And I've also got a custom Thorn Brothers. It used to be a musky rod. It was actually made on a steelhead blank, and the thing is freaking awesome. It was for a light bucktail rod. I had it for way back in the day, but it's actually probably more moderate and like almost like a crankbait rod. And I actually just like two seasons ago, I think it was, I brought it back to Lonnie. He's the builder over at Thorn Brothers, and had him put smaller guides and this and that on it to make it more bathy. And it's a kick-ass rod. I really like it, but it's more for, I would say, more for that 3-4 ounces. It's sweet spot, whereas the Leviathans I think is right around 2 to me, mm-hmm. 2 to 3 ounce. So but yeah, and got a couple tranxes, this and that. I'm a Shimano guy. I,
Yeah.
uh, I, I, I do own like one or two, maybe even three Daiwas, but every one of them has caused me problems. So yeah, whatever. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna get into that because unless you want to, but that's kind of apples to apples. Everybody, has their own opinion,
Mhm.
and nobody's ever right or wrong in that one. It's
Oh yeah.
all opinion.
Oh, and fishing is super opinion oriented, like, cause
Oh yeah.
you're like, I'm not running under 20, and I've been running 17 this past season, 17-pound fluoro, and that worked good for me. It's like it's a little iffy if like a pike chokes a bait,
Sure,
but
absolutely.
uh yeah.
Well, yeah, no, truthfully, 17 to 20, I don't think it's gonna you're not gonna get saved because of it from a pike. If the pike gets you in the right spot, you're gone no matter what you have for
Mhm.
line. I mean, at least up to I mean, yeah, I've used like leaders, like 40-pound floral leaders, and yeah, I've got bitten up with those. So I mean, and that's kind of thick. I mean, but yeah, pike, pike or a muskie, no, not a problem. It's gone like that if there's tension on your line. So
For sure, dude. The lightest line that I've caught a pike on, I was like maybe 20 inches. I caught it on my BFS setup. So it was a heck of a fight, but it was on 6-pound fluoro. But the next pike that I caught, not even trying to catch pike, going after panfish or whatever. The next pike that I caught, snapped it off, just cut the line. It was
so let me ask you this: so you're using 6-pound fluoro on a bait caster?
yeah, it's on my BFS setup.
Yeah, okay. So you don't get those big. I wouldn't call them rat's nests, but you know how it kind of bushes up a little bit at the end of your cast all the time. You don't deal
Yeah.
with that.
It just kind of depends how like fine tuned I can get things, like a little bit, but
See,
um,
that's yeah. Sorry, but that's what drove me nuts back when I tried using it with crankbaits and this and that. I always get that, and I have to pull a little bit out. That just takes away the spontaneity and a lot of it, and whatever. It's just it's pain in the butt. I mean, not worth it. So that's why I use braid so much.
mm,
Not dealing with that. But
yeah. Well, I think braid's a lot easier to cast. Um, I think when you do get a bird's nest though with braid, I think you're kind of fucked.
say that again.
I feel like when you get a bird's nest with braid though, you're kind of
Oh,
fucked.
yeah. Well, yes and no. I've had so many, and I've got a scientific way of doing it now. I'm kidding, but it's not too many you can't get out without too much problems. But yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, I don't really bird's nest floral, but I just can't stand that. Even with the heavy stuff, casting heavy lures, I get it once in a while.
Hmm.
Obviously, the line conditioner helps greatly, which yeah, I'm a big believer in that. I wasn't at first. I was just thinking, whatever, squirting some shit on my line ain't gonna do anything, but it works. It works. So I continue to use it, especially as it gets colder. It seems to get more memory, keep more memory. The line does,
Hmm.
I feel. But yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, I when I go and buy line, I go to our local Cabela's and get a my 10% first responder discount. So I take advantage of that as much as I can, especially if they got sales and I throw my discount on top of that.
absolutely, absolutely. First responder, I got to ask, what do you do then?
I'm in law enforcement. I'm in corrections.
Right on. Like it, so in a prison facility type thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got a buddy that does that.
it's something. I got stories.
I'm sure you do.
Um, So I know you said you weren't quite sure how you got into swim baits, but do you know like maybe what were some of your first swim baits you've had?
So I knew this was going to come up. So this is so all right. Coming from the musky world, right? it's the swim bait line to me is kind of like gray because basically a swim bait, this is considered a swim bait, right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's a two-piece, it's a jointed crankbait is what it essentially is to me. That's, as a musky guy, we would use one or two-piece crankbaits. One would have a joint in it, you know, or actually even there was three that I've got one. I wish I would have grabbed it, but it was called the Locomotive. It was a three-piece wake bait. Wood clacked like a son of a gun, and yeah, they probably still make it. But anyway, you could get that thing for probably $15 back in the day, and you know, and it does everything that a wake bait today does. Anyway, so we'll get to like more real swim baits. I'm gonna say 2005-ish, 6-ish. I don't know for sure. I'm just kind of thinking about when I got my first boat and a couple of years into that. So I got my first boat, I think 2003. Anyway, there's a brand called Done Right, and they made some lures. I think they made some other like storage things for musky lures and stuff. I don't completely remember, but anyway, there was this is only half of it. It's called a Done Right pike, and this is all super soft, and there was the tail went back here, you know, and then this treble hook would kick in the tail back there. Anyway, about as super killer swim, I'll say that. Looks super real, super, you know, SE snaky looking. Had this thing sitting in my box and just knowing, yeah, it would get bit, but never really used it just because I don't really like all these, the way the treble hooks are, and you know, just whatever. Anyway, I was out fishing with a buddy and musky fishing, and we were getting falls left and right. I mean, this spot was on fire. Good sized fish too. And anyway, nothing was, they weren't swiping at anything. I put that thing on, within a couple casts, bam, 46-incher landed. And that was that totally made me a believer. Could have been the size. Maybe they just wanted something smaller. I don't know, because this is, I think, 6 inches when it's full size, which is pretty small for a musky bait, especially the time of year. This was like in the middle of summer, probably August or something. But anyway, so yeah, that's the first legit swim bait other than like a paddle tail type. Before that, yeah, I've used 6-inch paddle tails, 7-inch paddle tails, salt shakers. Back in the day, Doug Stange from In Fisherman, he would do musky shows with him using that 6-inch paddle tail on like a J-Mac, like 1.5 ounce jig, swim jig. And so I was doing that, trying that worked. Today's standards, they wouldn't call it a swim bait, but Doug Stange did back then. So anyway, so after that little pike, I went out and bought this big crappie. Thing is just mangled, and the heat and whatnot has caused it to warp and melt. But to get an idea of, you know, and you can see, this is how that pike was. I don't know if you can see it, you know, the little joints there. Surprised this is still in one piece. I don't know I caught many with it, but I know I caught one or two. And then also, I think Suick made this one. I think it was called the something Sue, Curly Sue or something. I don't remember exactly what, but it's a big paddle tail sucker, you know. And all this stuff was mid 2000s, I'll say 2005, 2006, that kind of era, I think, is when I bought all that stuff. So, I mean, I guess that's when I got into swim baiting, but it wasn't swim baiting to me. It's just musky fishing with more live-like baits, kind of, you know. And of course, I knew of the swim baiting scene. Kind of coming out from California. There even up here, I remember seeing like the ospreys and the castaics, their trout, and even the soft rubber one. And but they were trout pattern. I wasn't gonna buy no trout pattern bait up here, because we don't have trout up here. At least in the lakes I fish, there's some stock trout here and there, but they're not like, well, they're not in musky lakes for one. Two, yeah, they're in. Now that I look back, yeah, they're not like the California stock trout. It's not like that. And like fish don't sit there and wait for these fish to get planted every fall or whatever and go gorge on them. It's just, yeah, I whatever. That's just my opinion on that, or the way I think about that. I fish these lakes with trout lures, and they don't do any better than they do with or without a trout lure. So, anyway, yeah. So that's kind of. But then, if you fast forward from that, what we call swim baiting today, oh, what happened? How did I figure that one out? I think probably Oliver Nye from Big Bass Dreams, when he first was doing that. That was probably an eye opener. I think well, for sure. I know whether he was the first. I don't know, but first from memory right now. But I'm freaking 50. My memory sucks. But we'll go with that. And then I recall seeing like YouTube videos of I think it was either Depps or Roman made, but there was it's like a black and white video. I'm sure you can find it right now. It was like a promotional video, but it's the glide in the pool. I'm pretty sure it's black and white, and you just see it, gliding along, and I'm just like, wow, that's just freaking awesome, And seeing that, and then somehow I think I stumbled onto Swimbait Underground. Back then, Universe wasn't around. It had been around, I believe. It was Eric Ask and Dave Cindric. I think they started it originally, but anyway, that was in limbo at the time. I remember trying to get in it, and they wouldn't accept me, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't being accepted because nobody was running it. Anyway, so I found Underground, and that was pretty cool and it still is cool. It's just kind of hard to navigate and manage with, you get emails when you get a chat or when somebody responds your chat. I don't know if you're a part of it or not, but it's kind of weird that way. It's not as impulsive, I guess. But anyway, but I remember the little piggy guys, Dan and forget his brother's name. Anyway, you know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, those guys floored me, and the talent those kids had, and they kind of got me stoked on I'm like, shit, a kid like that can do it, I can do it. You know what I mean? and no disrespect to them, they're way beyond what I can do. Their stuff is cool. I'm kind of surprised they're not bigger than they are. But anyway, yeah, because there was I think it was the Bait Maker forum on Swimbait Underground. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I kind of, how I got into this. I don't really know why I figured I'd start making them. The little piggy guys and just that forum, itself. In reading, there what was it? I can't remember. There was a couple online just other forums that were bait making. I can't remember what they were, but they kind of told you it was hard to find back then, but not impossible. But just how to weight or a glide bait, and how you want them each section to fall, evenly and this and that. And without knowing that, you're dead in the water trying to make a glide bait, I tell you that. And I don't remember where I got that info. but I do remember that was like oh, that was like okay, that's what I got to do, kind of a thing. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going off on tangent here, but yeah,
No, you're all good.
I, that's kind of what I remember. I mean, and then just I've had all the big builders I've had at one point probably. Um, don't have many anymore just because I don't use other guys' baits too much. Glide baits I will grab and uh, I just got a crawler recently on a trade from you probably know I would hope you know anyway Chris DeMarsico. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name right, but from Cannon. What's his new? I forget what he named the bait company, but Loose Cannon Lures.
Okay.
He makes all wood crawlers, and he makes his own the flappers on the wings, and super heavy duty. Um, really really killer baits. I yeah. Um, got my faith back in the crawlers. I'll say that because as a muskie guy, we use crawlers way back when I first started muskie fishing. We were using crawlers, but the wings would just go to shit and they'd get out of tune and it would go on the box and you'd never mess with it again. His I don't think will go out of tune. Maybe on a good muskie strike it might, but they're built well. I will highly recommend that. So, or his stuff and glides. Yeah, I don't. Anyway, yeah, I've had a lot of guys stuff and just having those kind of looking at them and seeing how they build their stuff and this and that kind of helps a lot, of course. And yeah, I don't know.
No, for sure, dude. So, like on the agro wake, what kind of fish have you put up with that?
Me personally, like as far as like big ones.
Yeah, you personally and like people sending in pictures and stuff. What have you seen?
Well, tell the truth, there's not a lot of them out, but I personally in Minnesota. So Minnesota, if people out there don't know, our state record's just shy of 9 pounds for largie. I think 8 pounds for smallie. I could be wrong on that one, but I caught a couple just over 5 smallies on it, and largie I want to say is right around 5. I'd have to go back and look. Um, Maybe just I want to say 4 3/4, something like that. Nothing huge, but quality for here, quality for where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I got a good guy out, Robert Parrish, his name is, out in Washington State. He's caught multiple 7s on it and multiple 5s and 6s as well. But 2 7s within the same week, I think it was.
Wow.
One was pushing 8, I believe, or 7.5 maybe. I don't know. I'd have to look at that too. It's all on my Instagram. But those I think are the biggest. But another guy Ron, I believe. I think he's Maine or Maryland. He had one pushing 6. But honestly, like there's not many of them out there. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I do this as a hobby. I honestly don't have like a big push for them. I'm not like just about like if I can put if I get like 4 sales a month or something, I'm perfectly fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't make baits, and that's another thing. So, guys, if you're watching, you want baits, now's the time to get them. I don't really make baits in the summer. I'm fishing,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just going to go off on another tangent here. So, I live down in Farmington, Minnesota, south suburbs of Minneapolis, St. Paul. I have an RV up north on a lot. On a lake resort lot, about 15 other friendly campers in Hackensack. It's about 3.5 hours north of me. I work 3/12. I have 4 days off a week, typically. I'm up north every day off I have from May till October. I'm married with 0 kids, and I've got a killer wife that puts up with my shit. So with or without her, I'm up there, and so I fished a lot. I fished a lot, and anyway, forgot where I was going with this. Oh yeah, I don't make baits in the summer because I'm up
Yeah.
there, and I don't really have the facility to do it up there. I can, at the most I can do is bring poured baits up there and sand them and prep them. Um, but that's about it. That doesn't yeah. So I can and I do dabble a little bit in it during the summer, but not too much. So from here until May, especially if you want a custom color, like a lot of guys, I want custom colors from me, or I just they say, do you have anything available? I said I've got a bunch of blanks ready for paint. What do you want? Kind of a thing. So that's kind of how I work. As you've probably seen, I'll throw some up and say, yeah, I've got these ready and available if you want. DM me, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't push too hard on trying to sell them. They'll sell eventually. That's the way I look at it. And I've got a real job that supports us just good enough. So it's total fun for me. Not trying to get too serious. If I get too serious, I think I'll then you start stressing out and that kind of thing, and not into stress.
Yeah. Dude, and it cuts into your fishing time, man.
Absolutely, and yeah, right now I've got plenty of time. So, but yeah. Oh, so back to big ones. Not on the aggro, but on the pork chop. A guy. How do I say this? So a striper fisher from down in I think he's southern Arizona or something. He contacted me on the specs on the aggro saying he wanted it for stripers. And well, after he found out it was only 6 inches or so, 6.5 inches, it was too small. And I told him, I said, I'm not sure it's going to hold up to a big ass striper like that. I really don't know. Truthfully now I do think it will, but anyway, I told him I had the pork chop, and I said I would make a 2-piece for him because the 3-piece you need well, first of all, it needed bigger hooks, more stout hooks. So with the 3-piece, that didn't jive with the big hooks because they're going to get caught in a joint or something like that. So I finagled a 2-piece to work with big ass hooks or bigger hooks, like 2/0 versus 1s. And sent it down to him, and lo and behold, he caught a 25-pound striper on the damn thing. It's on my site too. It's I painted up as a rainbow trout. It's a 2-piece fat pork chop. So that was like, and I didn't charge him a dime. I just wanted to see somebody catch a big ass fish with one of my baits.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how I am. I'm more about I'm not going to give them away. I put a lot of time into them. That one I did give away because that was kind of a different story. But I have given, I don't know, I've probably given 10 to 20 baits away throughout the years, just to random guys on the boards saying, they want to get into it, this and that. They want a rat or whatever. And I got the perfect rat for you for a beginner, send it out to them, whatever. So I do that, but I just want to see guys have confidence in my baits more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can make a buck or two, great, but if it escalates and I need to start pumping out baits because people want them, I'll probably make that arrangement to happen, more so than I do now. But for now, I'm happy where it's at, just having fun.
Oh, for sure, dude. As far as let's get into the muskies a little bit. What's your PB muskie, dude?
That is that's kind of a funny story on its own, or an odd story. Not even odd, just so I had fished a couple of times in a buddy's boat. So I'm gonna say this was probably late 90s, 96, 97, something like that. I don't even know. Sounds about it. We'll just go with that. Anyway, um, fished out of his boat and got follows. Fishing that there's a lake called French Lake. Minnesota guys probably know of it. It's down south. Just a pea green soup shit lake. There's no visibility. So you're throwing basically bright orange chartreuse kind of colors all the time. At least I was. And actually at that time I didn't have my own muskie lures. I didn't even know that I always thought muskies. I've been fishing all my life, and my grandparents lived in Brainerd, Minnesota, which is up north. Now it's kind of populated, and it's still up north. But anyway, so I always thought muskies were an up north species. I didn't realize they were down here in the suburbs. So once I found that out, my buddy took me to this lake that was actually down south of the suburbs. Anyway, I got a couple follows, and that was enough. I was like, well, holy shit, these things are huge. I want to catch one, kind of a thing. And so over that, I got my boat. Yeah, that same buddy, I'm like, fuck, I can't. Wish I could afford a boat. He's like, dude, you got a 401, don't you? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, borrow from that. So I did. You can only take out as much or half as much as what you got or something like that. But, I'm still working for the same company this day. That's a different story too. But anyway, so I went out and withdrew like $4,000 or something like that. And I got like a 17-foot bass boat with a 90 horse on it, piece of shit motor. Didn't know it at the time, knew nothing about anything when I went to buy this. It was a total jalopy. Ended up replacing the motor eventually. But anyway, so first full season with that over the winter, I did a lot of studying on these lakes around here, metro lakes. I decided to go to a lake called Bald Eagle. And anyway, within the first hour, I think, I hooked a monster. I was by myself. I was supposed to go with a buddy of mine backed out of it. And I'm like, well, hell with it, I'm going anyway. And anyway, it was, so at that time I knew nothing about figure eights, none of that crap. I just cast and retrieve kind of guy. And so I had on a Booker Raider 2-piece, which would be considered a swim bait to some guys today. It was a 2-piece jointed, 6-inch is all it was. It was a diver. It probably went, 6-8 feet. And there's this Reed Island right up in front of the boat launch. Pretty total popular spot. I mean, you just look at a map and it looks like a magnet. But anyway, so I was just fishing that, and there was another boat or two on the spot. It's not a huge spot, but it's big enough to hold, depending where you're at on it, hold maybe 3 boats tops. But I was coming around, kind of following these guys, and anyway, eventually I had this frickin' monster come up to my bait right at the boat, and where most guys would start going into a figure eight, I just walked right down the side of my boat. And just because that thing you kept following, so I'm like, well, I can't stop moving this. As soon as I started to turn it, he chomped on it, and I ripped back into it, and fight was on. I didn't know what to do. Yeah, I had a net with me, but I was not expecting to get a fish of this caliber. Anyway, so I'm yelling, hey, across the way to the closest boat, fishing the same piece of structure. And they ended up coming over, their father and son. They came over and netted it for me. And another boat came over because they heard me yelling. They wanted to see what the hell I was yelling all about. And they came over, and so got the fish netted. I had it held up, like so. And instead of laying it on a board or anything flat, I just kept it held. And, they got a bend in it. And the guy measured it, and it was 48 inches.
Nice.
So it could have went up to 50 maybe because of that bend. Don't know. I have caught 49s. I think I caught a 49 and a half. I want to say I did, but I'm not. I know a 49 for sure. And I've caught not a ton of muskies, but enough. But that's all I used to do. It was like whenever I got out. I didn't fish as much as I do now. I fish way more now than I did. But when I did, it was for 8 to 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Stay out all day kind of a thing. And you kind of have to do that for muskies to find the window. But yeah, so that was first and maybe biggest, I guess. I guess I can't say I've caught a true 50, which is kind of disappointing, and I still want to do it, but I don't care that much because muskie fishing's a pain in the ass.
Dude, you're out there all day. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I don't have the grind I used to. Like I said, I used to do it 8 to 12 hours. And now being up where I'm at, I have a boat and a slip. And if the fish aren't biting, I just go back in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to grind it out, you know what I mean? It's kind of made me a wuss as far as that goes. I mean, if I go out to a different lake, if I put the boat on a trailer, it's different. I'll stay out. But, on my lake, and I know my lake, or I feel I know my lake. It's not a musky lake. It's a largy lake it's got some smallies. They're starting to prevail in it, but yeah. So I or if there's too many other guys out there, which it's up north, so we don't really have that problem except for on holidays, but which I don't even bother with anymore. 4th of July, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm spoiled, and I'm all right with that.
My cousin's husband is this big muskie guy in Minnesota, and they're like in the Detroit Lakes area.
Okay. Not really. I'll just say I'm not too familiar with it. I know of it, just never been there.
Yeah. A 57-inch muskie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Freaking freak of a fish, dude.
Yeah, that's like state record size.
It was for a while. I think it's since been broken.
I've probably seen it then. I mean, I still pay attention to what's going on a little bit. I don't know the hottest lures or nothing like that, but I get enough stuff on my Facebook page, I guess, or whatever.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was like back in 2016. So yeah, just freak of a fish, dude. It's fish of a lifetime.
Absolutely. Shit, a 48-incher is a fish of a lifetime to some guys,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always wanted to go out with him and go muskie fishing. I don't think does it quite as much, because they have a family and whatever. But I don't know. He's a super serious dude, and I'm not as serious. Like I would want to talk and do whatever, and he's just honed in.
Yeah. Funny story. Yeah, that's it. Muskie fishing, though, you do have to be pretty dialed in. I mean, of course. Actually, it's kind of funny because it always seems there's the kind of a joke me and my buddy always had. We would just have to almost act like we're not paying attention to get a bite because that's when it happens. You know what I mean? So that's why you need to be freaking focused. But because as soon as you're not, that's when you're going to get your bite, and that's when mistakes are made.
Just going to whiff it.
That's the God truth. But when you're out there grinding all day and you are focused and nothing's happening, that's what the joke comes in. You're like, all right, we just got to try to pretend not to care right now. Maybe we'll get bit. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I remember taking a newbie out, a buddy of mine. I think I was on Minnetonka. Doesn't really matter. But anyway, I told him that he has to, if anything, you got to watch your fouls. And if you do, you got to go in a figure eight, this and that. Yeah, I gave him a top raider, like a whopper plopper type bait. Before the whopper plopper was out. Anyway, he was retrieving that, and he had a foul. It was a mid-40s fish, nice fish, and he just stopped and pointed at it and said, "Holy shit, look at that!" I'm like, "Keep reeling, dude, keep reeling." It was like, yeah, it's just like biggest mistake, like 101. Do not do that. Keep the bait moving. But it was just funny. I was mad at him, and at the same time, just laughing my ass off at him. But yeah, it was. I ended up not that outing, but I think another outing or two. It was his birthday. Ended up catching him or getting him on a 47. I didn't catch it. He caught it, but I was controlling the boat, so I'll take a little bit of credit, and I netted it.
Yeah, there you go, dude. That's a win.
And it was on a bucktail that I made, so that was pretty cool too.
Oh, sweet. You got your own magic recipe for bucktails too.
Bucktails are easy.
Yeah. So going into your paint jobs, dude, I feel like your paint jobs are pretty sweet. Like how long have you been painting? About the same amount of time as you've been making baits?
Uh, Making resin baits, yeah. But at the beginning, it was very few and far between. I'd make, especially like making these little knockoffs. I probably made 4 or 5 of them. Actually, I left let's see, I think I got 2, so I probably left 4 of them up with the guide that I used to fish with in Mexico. I haven't been there for quite a few years now, but gave them to them. It gave them to him. But anyway, painting. Yeah, so when I first got an airbrush, it was kind of, I don't even remember, but I kind of think I was more, or wanted to get more into actually making art on canvas or paper than I did with fishing lures. And so I kind of got into that, learn how to shade a little bit, this and that way. But as far as like painting and influence, Joe Peterson again, dude, from True Glide. I don't know if you see his baits, they're freaking amazing. And he's been, as long as I can remember. I was just looking at earlier. I don't have it with me, but I have one of his baits from 2007, which at that time they were like $50 and no line to wait in. Now you go in muskie shows, there's a line, and if you're not in the line in time, you're not getting one of his baits. They sell it like that, like Throwback does online. He does
Mm-hmm.
at muskie shows. But anyway, he's kind of, I would say he's definitely an influence in just kind of the gill plating. And I mean, I don't know. I think that's also a European type thing too, the way they paint some of their stuff. And I don't know if he got his from that or they took it from him, kind of a thing. But that's kind of where I first saw that and kind of stole it from, if you will. I don't think it's not exactly what he does. It's way better, but I do like it. I do think it makes my baits look a little different than everybody else's, and it's kind of part of the game these days. You have
Mm-hmm.
your own look, signature kind of a thing, and it's kind of mine, I guess. Kind of rolling with it. I keep thinking to myself, I'm like, I should just do one of these without once. And I kind of do essentially, because it's almost the last step is the gills, but I haven't.
Mm-hmm.
And and because of that reason, because I think it is kind of a signature, so I'm just gonna roll with it.
Yeah. No, like these recent like bluegill ones that you posted on your Facebook, super sweet paint job. It's like subtle.
Good guy.
Yeah, yeah, and the blending's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And then
Thanks.
the like kind of yellow pink crawfish one you did is unique. That's different. It's fucking sweet.
That was a pain in the ass. A freaking pain in the ass. It's yeah. I've done one before in the crankdown version. It was going to be a personal one. A buddy of mine actually bought it off me because he wanted it. Um, but similar, same colors. But the latest one's much better. My painting got a little better. But it's such a pain in the ass. It's so much stencil work, so much handling the bait. One little in those colors do not you can't mask going over. If you mess up, you have to and take white and go over that mess up, and then come back over with the color again and hope you can get it. It's a pain in the ass. I keep telling myself I'm done with the craw, but uh, I'm just actually that you brought this. Yeah, I just thought of it yesterday that I need to make new stencils that wrap around the whole bait almost, versus I'm doing each scale at a time, one at a
Mm-hmm.
time on each side, and then I come over the back and then I spray that there's lines over the top of the back, and to get those to match up and line up, it's a it's a pain in the butt, and it just dawned on me there's a better way.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if you could like 3D, if you could have like somebody 3D print where it could go over and that could be your stencil. Because did you like design the stencil yourself? Because I don't think I've really seen a craw pattern like that.
not completely. I made it bigger. Um, who I can't even remember who makes it. He's pretty well known. I think in the bait painting scene. I wish I could remember. Maybe is it? He makes a crawl wheel, but it's more for small little crankbaits. Anyways, I enlarged it and cut it out myself, and at least for the scale parts of it, the back
Mm-hmm.
and the bottom. There's a little, not on that pink one, but on my other ones, I do a little bottom scaling too. That those I made myself, and in the future it'll be ones I make myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to have to be, because what I have in my head and how it's going to work to be easier and more uh, repetible, and yeah, to make everything the same every time, you know.
For
But
sure, dude. I
um,
think that that egg roll just looks good with a lot of different patterns on it. Like, this yellow perch looks good. The bluegill looks good. The different craws look good.
thanks, man. I appreciate that. I really do. I try. I mean, it's like in one of my posts, I think I even said that I never really cared for bluegill patterns on minnow style baits. It just looked goofy to me, but I really like the way mine looks. I will say it, and it's gonna actually. I'm gonna this one probably, unless somebody calls me up and wants it or something. I will make more regardless, but one of these just might be my personal for next season. I usually just grab one. I'm not big on color,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's a bait fish that exists in the system I'm fishing. Yeah, they might be, you know,
Yeah,
they might be,
and you're awake, so like mainly they're seeing
yeah,
belly.
white belly to me. Some guys like black because of I that's another little thing I think about. White or black doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Silhouette is a silhouette. If you got a light behind you and you're looking up, just because it's a white belly or a black belly, is it going to make it any darker? I think it's still a silhouette, right? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. That's something that I need to get under the water and mess with, but or somebody should, so I don't have to. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of my argument with that. Guys that want black for fishing at night and this and that, but to me, a silhouette's a silhouette. And also, in the dark, you can see white easier than you can black, can't you? If there's any bit of light.
No.
So I don't know. That's kind of my theory on that. Doesn't matter. I don't know. To me, it doesn't.
I don't know. I
I'm
don't
just
night.
saying. I'm not a big night guy. We got too many freaking bugs up here. So
Oh, fuck, dude. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, like perfect. Dude, anytime I've night fish, been perfect. Like perfect for everything. And it's like you got bluegill popping on the surface, and I'm
yep,
not catching shit. I don't know what the deal
yep.
was.
Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, that I think about that all the time too. That happens so much, where you're like, I'm going to catch a fish here, and you don't. I mean, it's like, yeah, like you said, bluegill popping, bugs everywhere. They're popping at the dead bugs on the surface more or less, and or unless there's some kind of hatch coming up from underneath. But yeah, it's that to me is, yeah. And you think, all right, wake bait, it's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, it don't. And why there's not a bass down there, or why you're not catching that bass, that's part of the puzzle, I guess. But it's not like you're only throwing one bait. When you see activity like that, you're trying multiple kinds of things, and at least I am. And
Mm-hmm.
not successful all the time, and it's kind of mind-boggling, I think. you know
Yeah. Yeah. It's just goofy, dude. I don't know.
as they
Um.
always say, follow the bait.
So, when you're not fishing your baits, what kind of baits do you like throwing around?
Oh, that's easy. Jig and pig, jig and craw. I love a jig bite. um yeah, I'm not a swim bait only guy. I'm a freaking lure junkie. I've got tackle up the ass. I've got too much. um but it's what I do. I like it. It's fun to me. I'm not as much as I used to be. Like, I'm trying to tone down. Like, if there's a new bait that I just, it's got to be pretty cool for me to go after. But anyway, yeah, I really, really, really like fishing deep in the summer. Um, Deep structure, you know, give me anywhere from 15 to 30 feet, and a half-ounce jig with a crawler on, or yeah, a crawler trailer on it. Um, Excuse me, I will pick apart the shit out of that piece of structure
Mm-hmm.
until I find them. And oftentimes that time of year they're schooling, and you find one, you're finding a bunch. And jigs definitely can still, even though they're not a big swim bait, they are a big fish bait. And yeah, I love it. I love the jig bite. I just love feeling the tick tick and just you know, like the the hook sets to from hell, just giving it, and hopefully they're going the opposite way when you do, and it's just like, oh, yeah, and I love it. Yeah, yeah. That's I. Yeah, if I wasn't catching, if the swim bait thing, if it wasn't my baits, I'm catching them on, because that's a whole nother gratitude. Jig fishing is my favorite, but
Mm-hmm.
catching fish on my own baits is first. And that's just because, I mean, why wouldn't it be? But you probably know that, right?
Yeah, for sure, dude. Yeah, there's nothing like catching. So you take all this time, you make a bait, it's perfect, and then you catch a fish on it. There's nothing better.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
wait till you start building rods.
I thought about it years ago, so obviously you're doing it. But no, I actually, I take that back. I made one. I did. So Thorn Brothers were a big muskie shop here in Minnesota. I don't know if you know about them or not, but they did. They may still, I don't know. But one winter I went over there, and they did a build your own rod kind of deal. And me and another rod builder sat down, and he helped me build my rod basically. But when it came to doing the epoxy, I freaking sucked at it, so I had him do it for me. Rolling the epoxy around the.
Mm-hmm.
So I made it, and it's a killer jerkbait rod. Um, that's another one I might take back to Lonnie and have him do different guides on. But it's only like 7.2 is all it is. So it's a total jerkbait rod for musky stuff. It's got the action to be a decent swim bait rod, but it's kind of short. It's
Mm-hmm.
another one of those steelhead blanks. It was a Loomis SW blank, whatever that. I think it was a steelhead. It might have been saltwater SW kind of. Either way, killer blanks, and don't think they make them anymore. So it's one of those. I know if you're in the know, or you were back then and still are now. If anybody was watching this that was around back then, they're like, yeah, those blanks are rad, and they still probably use them. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
What's that blank rated for then?
I don't know. I think it's a line rating, if anything. It's not like a lure rating,
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't even tell you, because once you take, because it was a 7.6 blank, and once you take, now it's down to 7.2.5 or something like that. Once you take that changes everything too.
Mm-hmm.
big time. You'd be well, you're a rod builder, so yeah, I don't know if you try it. If you take a little bit off a tip, I mean a half inch off a tip, and it'll change how that rod works.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, you probably know that though.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. I've never tinkered with it. I have like my core set of rods that I built right now. I could build more, and it's like I could get even more specific into different techniques, but I don't know. I've got
Cool.
a good core set right now.
Cool. Very cool. Um, so what blanks are you using? What's your favorite? What do I need to
So
know?
I don't know. Not an expert.
Nobody is.
Dude, I've
Well,
been using mud hole blanks. So
yep.
I've used
So
like they're
they're
good.
a brand blank.
Yeah, so they got like the MHX, which is
Yep,
like
yep,
their
yep.
higher end, and then I've used the CRB ones, and those ones are actually like pretty good for what they are. Um, yeah, so like my swim bait rod, it's on a MHX mudhole swim bait blank, 1 to 4 ounces. Uh, I've tossed over that like a K9, like a DRT Clash
Yep.
9. It's a little over 4 ounces, a little bit. Uh, really loads up the rod, but it's moderate fast. I feel like it does a lot of things well. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Moderate's where it's at, man.
Mhm.
I I've grown. Well, I guess it depends on the situation, but yeah, I think yeah, you keep them pinned better. I mean, in any situation, well, once it's on, you keep them pinned better. You may not hook up better, but once they're on, kind of a thing. But treble hooks, obviously, you want that moderate.
Mhm.
I just I'm going off tangent again, but yeah, I do. I dabble in salt. I've been saltwater fishing, here and there, and I got a buddy that lives in Texas now, and I go down there and we redfish and this and that, and we're fishing jetties in deep water, and
Mhm.
learning that moderate is way better than anything that
Mhm.
isn't. I'll say that, and it's yeah, I dig it. I dig it. It's even for like drop shotting and this and that, that it might not be the best for the hook set, but once they're on and you've got that light ass line, you're likely to get them in the boat.
Oh, for sure. Well, dude, even with my frog fishing, I like a little bit more of a kind of a mod fast action because I feel like I could still get like good hook penetration and pull them through the slop, but I feel like I'm keeping them pinned better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I feel like, and it has like a little bit of give, especially like using heavier braid. I don't know, I just makes
No, no,
sense.
well, that makes sense. And when they bite it, you got the give of that tip of the rod to so you're not pulling it away out of their mouth.
Mhm.
That's another thing that's going to be good for. So yeah, I totally see that. Makes sense to me.
Mhm. Um. So we'll kind of get this wrapped up a little bit.
Sure.
Um. You're a Midwest guy. You're in Minnesota. How do you feel about walleye? Overrated? Underrated?
Don't give a shit.
Dude,
I mean,
dude, I think
I
walleye are so overrated.
well, yeah, they are, but I really don't pay attention too much. I mean, I fish for them once in a while with friends, older friends than me. I got a couple buddies up at the campground that they're retired, and yeah, we'll go up to Leech Lake. I'm sure you've heard of Leech Lake, but
Mhm.
whether you have or not, anyway, it's a walleye factory. Yeah, I'll go over there with them, and it can be it's fun, just shooting the shit, but it's not my style of fishing, and they're good to eat. Um, I'm just as fine eating crappie and sunfish though. So, and you get them anywhere.
For sure. Yeah, my uncle's like, "Hey, you want to go fish?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like, all right, we're gonna go pull plugs, and I'm like that, and or like bottom bouncers. I'm like, that sounds boring. That's not how I want to fish.
Yeah, I grew up doing that. So yeah, it's like I said, it's more of a social thing for me
Mm-hmm.
than it is. I don't really go out and target walleye like ever. I catch them on accident a lot, and sometimes they're lucky and I release them. Sometimes they're not, and they get eaten. It all depends if I feel like cleaning them that night. But it's not very often I keep them, and because the lake I'm on, if I it's usually where I catch them. They're stocked every 2 years, but whatever. I don't feel like I need to keep them, and you got to clean them if you want to eat them. So
Mm-hmm.
it's no fun either.
Um, it's a very Midwest kind of centric. Um, in the area that you're in, do you guys have Casey's, the gas
Casey.
station?
Oh, the gas station. Not down in the suburbs, but on the way up north. Yeah, there's one I pass. Um, yeah, I never go into it. I never. It's like it's kind of in the middle of nowhere almost, like right off Highway 10. I think it is going towards Motley. I don't know if you know where that is, but um, yeah, it's just yeah. Okay, yeah, we have them, but so why do you ask?
Dude, I don't know that Casey's pizza will change your life, man.
Oh, well, maybe I'll have to stop.
May you know what? It probably won't, but I don't know. Like Casey's Pizza is kind of where it's at if you're going out on a fishing trip.
So well, see, it's too far away for me to go grab for a fishing trip. Yeah, that's like it's on the way up to my place. It's probably like hour and a half away yet, so like
I
two
gotcha.
hours from my house. So
Oh, I
that's not gonna
gotcha.
happen either.
Dude, like the area that I'm at, like here in South Dakota, which is like, kind of Black Hills, Mount Rushmore area. They don't have like Casey's, but like over on the eastern side of the state, they're everywhere, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh well,
Sorry.
dude. Okay, but okay. You have that bar back there.
I do.
Have you ever had Grain Belt beer?
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
Absolutely. The premium is it's still good. Actually, I grew up on that shit.
Yeah.
Um, like I said, I'm 50, so uh, I remember right around when I turned 21, maybe even before, Greenbelt Premium came out, and that was the shit. It was freaking good, and that was kind of the go-to for quite a while. I remember, and actually last winter, I got a buddy that's got a place way the hell up north, like in the Iron Range of Minnesota. We went up there to ice fish, and for nostalgia, I bought a 12 pack of it, and it was great. And for nostalgia, this is funny. He he bought a 6 pack of Mickey's, and he didn't finish one. I don't know if you've ever had Mickey's, but it's
I've never.
okay. Well, it was definitely I shouldn't even say it, but it was definitely like a high school type thing. It was
Mm,
cheap. It was potent. It was malt liquor, and it basically freaking tasted like skunk. How
ooh.
skunk smells. And yeah, so it was just I just kind of laughed at him when I saw him grab it. I'm like, he's like for nostalgia, Jeff. And I'm like, okay, you have at that. Grain Belt's still good. I will still drink Grain Belt. It, to me, if you're talking yellow freaking swill, you will. It's probably one of the better ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The I don't know if you've seen it, but on Instagram, uh, Grain Belt they just collabed with Disturbed. They have a Disturbed like Northeast can that they're putting out.
Really,
Yeah, it's kind of
like
sweet, dude.
as in just the
The
big
band.
Disturbed band.
Yeah.
Because there used to be a local Minneapolis band called Disturbed way back when I was younger, before Disturbed came out. They were a metal band too, but I just want that's why I asked
Oh
because
yeah. No, like
huh.
Disturbed, like the big, like oh, like the big
Yeah,
band.
right. Yeah, I know who they are, but I'm just making sure the same Disturbed. Like I said, there's actually two. Not too many people know that.
I
But there
was
was
not
one
aware.
before, or maybe they were called The Disturbed. I don't remember, but anyway, yeah, no, I that's weird to me that they would. You would think they would collab with a local band, if anything, but
it was it was a little, it caught me off guard, but I was like, it's like these are like two things I like. This is kind of neat.
yeah, right on. Well, hey, you got to get some now,
I
right?
gotta find some. Um, so my dad, he's a big Grain Belt fan, but like one thing that like he's introduced me to, and apparently it's like very Midwest, is having a red beer. I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh, Bloody Bears.
Oh no, just straight tomato juice and beer, dude.
Yeah, Bloody Bear. Yeah, same
Oh, a
thing.
bloody beer? I've never heard
Yeah,
it called that.
yeah. I mean, yeah, V8 and a beer. Mix it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dude, like,
I haven't had one in quite a while, but yeah, when you're beered out or like it's a one of those weekends, you know, like an ice fishing weekend or whatever. Sometimes you got to start out with something not so heavy or a little easy.
mm-hmm.
That's kind of yeah, bloody beers. They've been around. Yeah, that's maybe it's a Midwest thing, but
Dude,
absolutely.
dude, everyone I've ever like talked to, like outside of like the Midwest, they're like, that's fucking weird, dude.
Yeah, well, there's a buddy of mine, his dad, he got, I'm sorry for another tangent, but yeah, there's it was called a side hill sand chaser. Shot of whiskey, chase it with pickle juice.
Oh, see, I've heard that called a Brooklyn hooker.
Really? Okay, I've never heard it. I've never even heard anybody else doing it. So that was always, yeah, this was like, yeah, he was the cool dad. And yeah, before we were of age, we would do shots with him, and it's called the Side Hill Sand Chaser. That's what I remember. So yeah,
Yeah, like
and
oh, I had
I'm
like
not a big
these.
shot guy anymore.
Oh,
That's I'm not.
no.
Beer's good enough.
Um, I had these where I was interning at when I was in college. I had some interns come over from Germany at this company I was at, and I was having a red beer in front of them, and they're like, "Wyatt, that's gross. Like that's weird."
Yeah, well, don't knock it till you try it, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, if anybody out there, red beer, tomato juice, light beer of your choice.
Bloody beer, or even yeah, even like a Bloody Mary mix, like Zing Zang or Yin Yang, whatever it's called, Zing Zang, I think
Mm-hmm.
it is. Pretty popular one. Yeah, throw that. You take a sip or two out of your beer. That's about it. That's how I did it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Not like half and half or nothing. That'd be too much for me. But yeah, have fun with it.
Yeah, yeah. If you really want to get crazy,
Adults,
have a
adults
grilled.
have fun with it.
Yeah, if you want to get crazy, have a grilled cheese with it.
There you go. Oh yeah.
Dude. Anyway, where could the people find you at?
Instagram at Fishin Punk, FISHINPUNK, and I also have Facebook, Fishin Punk Lures. Yeah, Fishin Punk Lure Designs, I guess it is on Facebook. Um, don't have a website yet. It could happen if I feel it needs to happen. Right now, I hate technology too, so I'm analog man. That's another story, but yeah. So yeah, we'll see if I feel that guys would rather get them off a website than just DMing me or whatever. I might change that eventually, but right now I don't feel I sell enough to warrant it, and I'm not worried about it till that time comes. So if you want one, either look for a drop, wait for a drop, of 4 to 6 baits is all I usually do, and or just DM me and get what you want, because I'd rather have you fish with exactly what you want and have confidence in the bait.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
So, yeah.
Well, sweet dude. I really appreciate you coming on. And yeah, I thought this was pretty sweet.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I appreciate it, White. Thanks for your opportunity, and good luck with the whole deal you got going on.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it, dude.